Yo, what up guys, Ross Scalps here, and in this video I'm reviewing The Wild Robot. Alright, so the director of this movie is Chris Sanders, and he has some pretty notable work. You know, he's done Lilo and Stitch, The Croods, How to Train Your Dragon, and a movie called The Call of the Wild. And the cast in this movie is Lupita Nyong'o, Kit Connor, Pedro Pascal, Mark Hamill, Ving Rhames, just to name a few. And this movie has a $78 million budget. You know, it's projected to hit $20 million by the end of this weekend. The runtime is about an hour and 42 minutes. And this movie is good with kids ages 8 and up. You know, if you have kids that age, this would be a good movie to go to. Along with that, these reviews have been stellar. As I'm looking right now, it has a 98 on Rotten Tomatoes and an 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb. So overall, this movie seems like a hit. You know, so far it seems like people are enjoying it, liking it. And let me just describe the story of it. So this movie is basically about a robot named Roz who's shipwrecked on a deserted island. While it's there, it has to learn to adapt to survive and communicate with all the animals. And after a short while, Roz develops a personal bond with this orphan bird. You know, that's really the movie. The robot crash lands on this island, then has to take care of a bird and raise it. And the thing about this robot is it has to complete whatever task it's given. And the task it's given is to raise this little bird to eat, swim, and fly, you know, in time for the migration. So overall, my thoughts going into it was like, this looks mid. It just looked like it was going to be an okay movie. The trailer did not do it any justice. You know, I'm not sure if anyone really knows or cares that this movie's coming out. So, you know, I had low expectations. But after watching this, I got to say, this was a nice surprise. Like, this was a pretty good movie. Now, let me just list some of the pros and the cons. And like I said, this movie is really for kids 8 and up. So if you have kids around that age or even older, they're going to like this. And even you as a parent or someone taking their, you know, little brother or sister, I think you will find enjoyment in this movie. This movie does a good job. The story is simple yet effective. You know, it's just a robot has to basically raise this bird, and that's the movie, right? That's like the whole thing. But there's a lot of stuff tied into it. A lot of things that happen in the beginning that tie back into the end. Another thing I'll say is the pace and the runtime. Like I said, this movie's about an hour and 40 minutes, and I think it does a good job of just getting into it, and then, you know, you're kind of invested. You want to see what happens. And as everything's, you know, planning out and the story keeps unfolding, you're kind of locked in. Also, the 3 main characters, obviously Roz the robot, you have Fink, the little fox, and Brightburn, the little bird that has to be raised. All 3 of them do a good job, and their chemistry and their, like, togetherness by the end of the movie, it works so well, especially the dynamic between Roz and Brightburn just throughout the movie, and especially at the end where, you know, there's some pretty emotional scenes and they're really enough to make you tear up. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like some stuff that was said or done, you're just like, dang, like that's kind of sad. Movies that make you feel a certain way, like I feel like if you can do that in a movie, that's something that elevates it for me. And finally, I'll say the ending was satisfying. And like I said, just a bunch of heartwarming and emotional moments throughout this. The characters were good, and the arcs that I'd say the 2 main characters go through, and even the animals, you know, just in general in the background, all of their arcs just come together at the end well. And overall, this movie just worked. For the cons, I think the main one is that this movie is just a simple premise. And that doesn't mean it's bad, but it's not like a Toy Story or a Cars or Monsters, Inc. You know, this movie is just as simple as a robot crash landed on an island and has to raise a bird to fly. That's it. So that might be a con, you know, the story is just super simple. Another con would be there might be people who find this boring or just not for them, which I understand as well. This is more aimed for younger people, but it also has some, you know, tones for adults, you know, moments for adults that you can kind of relate to or you can understand. You know, especially because there's a scene in here with Fink and Roz and talking about love, like that can make you feel a certain way, you know, if you're older. But I mean, I think that's really all the cons. I could nitpick and point stuff out, but it's really just a simple yet effective story. The arcs for all these characters in here go well. Everything ties together by the end. I guess it's hard to gauge, but this is I'd say a solid B-tier animated movie. Has emotional scenes and just overall a good movie. And if I had to rank this, I would give it a Piston Cup. I think it's worthy of being watched in theaters. But those are just my thoughts, guys. Comment below if you saw this and what you think, whether you agree or disagree with me, and if there's more things you liked or didn't like. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching another movie review, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.